preparing to live stream. And there we go. Okay.
All right.
Hello.
Hey,
we are at Jen's Pen Live, and we are talking to Heather Jean today. She is coming to us live from Bath, one of my favorite places in the world. I've gone there a million times. And Heather Jean here is a visibility coach who is a co-pioneer of confidence through Cabaret. And we need to hear about that because that's pretty awesome. So Heather, just to start off, give us a little background about yourself.
Well, hey, thank you for having me. I'm just going to move that light a little bit. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this for days and days. So I am a leadership training consultant and career and confidence coach for over 25 years. Hopefully I still have that business, but when COVID happened, the two things you couldn't do was travel anywhere in the world and have large conferences. So that's still not happening yet, but you know, that's how it goes. So I decided during COVID that I had so much to share, and so I just started, you know, sharing it. And it's a whole different world having your own kind of you know, business to business kind of relationship with clients to having one-to-one relationships with clients. So it's been a real learning curve with all the technology and all the stuff. And, you know, I mean, that's where confidence comes from, right? It's just trying to do stuff and, you know, you eventually find your way.
Right. Getting it done eventually.
Yeah.
Persevering through all the mishaps, I think, is where the confidence comes from, knowing that you can count on yourself to do that. Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's interesting because, you know, I really knew the drill from, you know, I've had my own business for 25 years, but before that I was a head of an airline. I was head of training. So I traveled, I really knew how to do that. And it was a lot of work, but it was familiar territory no matter where I was going. Whereas this, I've had to learn to be embracing perfectly imperfect. Because technology doesn't always work, no matter how practiced you are, no matter, you know, all the socials go and change their algorithms and, you know, people come and go and it's a whole thing. So I've had to learn two things. One is the perfectly imperfect and the other is to really live what I'm doing. Because when you're a trainer or a coach, sometimes you're not doing the things that you're inspiring others to do.
Yeah, and so you have to live that out.
Yeah, walk the talk.
So speaking of that, talk us through your talk. What is it exactly that you help people with?
So I help people be able to find what their passions are and embrace it and go for it and let go of that need to know, well, how's that going to work? And I have to know everything. And, you know, I need a year of research to launch the podcast, or, you know, I need all kinds of lessons to just, you know, be able to show up live on social media, or, you know, whatever it is. And so when we started Confidence Through Cabaret, I know you're supposed to niche your market really, really small. But I really feel that, you know, your personal life, your work life, and your stage life, whatever that is for you, whether that's, you know, a group on Clubhouse or whatever it is, that one informs the other. And so it's really rare that I would coach somebody about their career visibility when it wouldn't, you know, it would trickle through to their personal life. Right. And what I started to find out was that a lot of people will say, well, I'm really confident in this area of my life, but I'm not so confident in another area of my life. And so I had a lot of, especially women, saying, I want to be, you know, I want to be heard at work. And I know what I'm doing. I put the effort and the time and everything into it, but nobody's listening, and I don't know how to be heard. And so I help people find, where do you have that confidence to show up, to raise your voice, to take up space, to do all of the things that you would need to do if you were on a live stage like Cabaret, which is the principles that we use. And then I help do that transferring of skills. So where are you strong with your confidence? Where are you strong with showing up? And then how do you transfer that into the areas where you want to build more?
That's awesome. So how, there's so many questions. So how, how would you suggest someone do that? Let's say if they don't feel like they're being heard at work, but whether it's through Cabaret or wherever else they're confident in life, how do you help them transfer that into the areas that they're not so confident?
So it's a lot about our internal dialogue. It's a lot about, our self-talk and what we say to ourselves.
Yeah.
And very often, because I do a huge amount of work around self-awareness and our own kind of personality preferences, but also around imposter syndrome. And we rarely question and call out that voice, the one that says you have to know everything, or you have to know the how, or you have to, who are you to do this, or procrastination or perfectionism or whatever it is. We don't question that voice. We don't go, hold on, I'm calling BS on this voice here, And
so
yet,
true. That's so
our
true.
confidence voice, right? Our confidence voice that goes, "Oh, you've done this before. You've got this. You know what you're doing. This is. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. All that that stuff. We go, but it does matter if it's if it's perfect, and it does matter what people think, and we question those voices. And so I use the analogy of Cabaret because that's my hobby. So it's kind of become with Confidence for Cabaret anyway. It's kind of become my biography in a way. I didn't know I was doing this, but I have very strong kind of work persona. And then I'm very comfortable in my own personal life in terms of showing up at places where I haven't been before, I don't know anybody, or those kind of things. I'm really comfortable with it. But I had to learn how to show up as myself. And when you go on stage, people are measuring what you're doing. Like they see you. And so I use Ariel as well. I use pole and hoop and silks, but I always like to pretend that, oh, they're looking at the apparatus. Well, they're not looking at the shiny pole or the pretty silks. They're looking at what you're doing, right? Whereas at work, I could say, oh, they're looking at my slides, or they're thinking about my content, or they're thinking about, the exercise that I've just asked them to go through. And so I kind of fooled myself that they're not really paying attention or judging or measuring me personally. And as soon as I realized that I had that barrier, that's when I went and started taking classes in Cabaret, because I wanted to be able to take up space. I wanted to be able to feel comfortable in my own body. I wanted to be able to own it. And so I started playing with that, and it was emotional. It was hard.
Yeah.
And so I help people to be able to do that. And one of the things that for me is very strong is I wear very high heels, like 9-inch heels. Right. So, and I feel fierce and I feel strong and I share them. Everybody gets to try them out. And I've never seen somebody who didn't put on a pair of shoes and go, wow, like I feel strong. And so I'll say, okay, well, take that voice, and you don't have to put on heels, but where that fierce voice is in you. And then I'll say, okay, use that fierce voice when you start to hear your imposter or your doubting voice. So because you don't have to be wearing, in my case, the 9-inch heels and the pink lipstick in order to be fierce. You just have to engage in that same energy and go, hold on a second. I do know what I'm doing. I have put in the work. I am ready to do this, and go for it.
Oh, that's awesome. It's amazing. I find I'm an actor, so it's kind of it's performance, right?
Sure.
So I always find that when you are up on stage or when you're in front of people, that's what you have, like, going for it. That's exactly right. You have to go for it. You can't do halfway. You have to either don't do it or just go all the way, because anything in between, you are going to look like unconfident. All those fears are going to go true.
Yeah, and they're telling, right? Because if there's an inconsistency, we don't always know why that is, but if there's an inconsistency between your nonverbal communication and then how you're saying something, then we kind of go, oh, that doesn't seem consistent, so therefore I don't trust them because there's something not right. And you know that we pick those little tiny changes of our body temperature, even our face coloring and our breathing rate and all those things. We pick those up from each other all the time, whether we know it or not.
Right. That's amazing.
And so there has to be a genuine belief in order to put that across. And so if you're, I did acting, you know, many years ago, but and I work with actors in my business life, I bring them into businesses and have people work with the actors, because you can't bring in the person that you want to give the bad news to and say, okay, let's practice on you. You bring in actors, right?
Right.
And we get them to play that person and take on their characteristics. And that's a real art in itself. But it's, you know, once we engage in that, then, as you say, we have to go for it. There's a difference, I think, with stage acting, because you have a director, you have a script, you have a given character.
Yeah.
And when you do something like dancing or singing or some of the cabaret kind of, or stand-up comedy, which would terrify me. Yeah, but so maybe I should do it. But you know, it really, it's something that you've created, and it's something that's really a strong part of you. And I realize that when you're on stage and you're following a script, there is still a part of you when you're playing a character, but this is fully you.
Yes, you know? That's very true.
And especially in the world that you know, if I'm using pole, we can't wear a lot of clothes because we need our skin to hold ourselves on. Right. So although I'm well aware and an advocate for the roots of pole dancing, it is actually, you know, athletic and gymnastic, where you can't, it's not, you know, kind of voyeuristic to, you know, wear very little clothes. It's a functional thing.
Right.
You know? Okay. Right, because you need your waist and your back and your under, like every part of you has to stick as much as you can. You'll fall. Right. And so you know, that for me is like, oh, see, this is what I do. That's my functional thing, right? Like, oh, I can go on stage with not very much on, because it's a functional thing. Right. Okay.
And so you give yourself permission to do that because it's necessary.
Right. But then if I'm going to perform something like burlesque, then it's like, oh, I can't possibly do that. And that permission kind of just dies off. And so it's about going, okay, well, hold on a second, though. I still have that voice and that energy in me. How do I apply that here? Because I'm allowed to give myself permission. I don't need permission from other people with what and how I do with my body, as long as I'm not hurting somebody else, you know. Right. So it's that transference of it. And it's the same thing when you're talking at work. It's like, no, I know what I'm talking about. And then we can talk about, you know, some of the techniques like assertiveness, core messaging, making sure that you're not being too wordy so people stop listening. You know, you're succinct with your core message, and you're getting that across.
So cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, no, seriously. So when you go, I mean, I find there's this point when you go on stage, and like you said, acting is different because, I mean, there's emotional truth there, and you know what I mean? Like, so there is definitely a truth you bring in, definitely a big part of yourself that you bring to this. But when you're performing, like, I've done stand-up comedy like once, and I was okay at it, but like, I've seen people bomb, and that is like the scariest idea. You know what I mean? When you were putting your real self out there and people are just, yes, they are judging. Absolutely. Yes. And you can hear them judge. Like
you wrote that material.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh God, I thought this was funny, but apparently I'm not funny.
Yeah.
Or going out, you know, even if you're writing like a character for yourself, you know what I mean? Like, or coming out and doing cabaret, doing burlesque, whatever it is you're doing, there is a moment where your fears are like, for me at least, before you get on stage, your fears are like, you can't do this. And then it's just this push you have to give yourself, put over this crazy threshold that is just like, all right, like, I don't have a choice here. Like,
yeah. Because they're announcing you and you're gonna go on.
No option.
No option. So last night, because I was inclined, now that we're back, we were in lockdown in the UK for a very long time, and now that things are, you know, are open and we can have careful, you know, contained venues with people in them. I was inclined to think, oh, well, I'm not in the same shape that I was, because I kind of let that go. I got bored with it. Right? You know, after
most of us
8 months, I was like, I really kept it going for like 8 months. I was really on it. And then I just thought, oh, this is going to go on for the 6 months. I just don't have the energy to do this by myself. And and I was really getting more into the confidence through cabaret and doing a lot more coaching and so on. And I was like, oh, I'm buzzing here. And so I let my fitness go. And my inclination was to say, okay, but I'm a lot heavier than I was before. I'm not as strong as I was before. And so I'll wait, and I'll, maybe 6 months, and I'll get back into shape, and and then I thought, well, no, because I'm advocating people to, okay, even if your body isn't where you want it, you have to love it where you are now. There has to be an acceptance of where you are now. And then you work towards your goals. So I thought, I'm being a complete hypocrite if I don't go on stage and do the thing and not apologize for my body and not explain and not anything, just go on and own it. And I decided that I would freestyle last night. I did 2 acts, so I had the music, obviously, and I had the character, and I had the costume that I'd made, but I didn't have the choreography, and I've never done that before. And I thought, well, I'm just going for the whole thing, right? Because I keep advocating this with people of, if this is something you want to do, then go for it, and then you'll learn, and that's okay. That's got to be able to accept that. I think it's crueler. I mean, because you get, like with cabaret, you've got an audience who are there to see you succeed. With comedy, you've got an audience that are there to see you succeed. But with comedy, you can't kind of make people laugh unless it's funny to them.
Right.
Whereas you can kind of get an energy going with cabaret where people are, encouraging and excited,
Yeah. So, actually, while we're talking about this, why don't we talk a little bit more about cabaret itself? Maybe you could talk about the background of cabaret, how you got into it, and what's required.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I had the work persona. I was doing very well in my training and coaching business, and I was really comfortable. And I woke up, and I've never had this happen to me before, but I woke up one morning, I was in Canada visiting my parents, and I had this voice in my head that said, I need to do burlesque. And I didn't know I knew what it was, but I didn't know really anything about it. I said to my
interesting
friend,
that your brain's like
burlesque. And I felt like, I think not only, but especially women, we feel like we start to shrink. And there's not a set age where that happens, but there is a point for most of us where that starts to happen. And we start to shrink in some part of our life. And we start to physically want to take up less space.
I'm so sorry. Let me just go turn that off.
Oh yeah, go for it. Go for it. I'll just carry on talking. So when you start to retreat and you start to apologize for the space that you're owning, then that's a really unfortunate way to live,
Yeah,
it just is. And every time I say this to somebody, and a lot of men, because we have men in Confidence Cabaret as well, we talk about women and femme identifying, but if it resonates with the men and they're comfortable with that vulnerability, then they're welcome. But when I started thinking about burlesque and started looking into what it was, I realized that I was very apologetic for the space I was taking up, except when I was at work, because I'm running conferences, I'm all over the room, I'm no problem. And I'm an extrovert, so I could fake it. And people were always saying, oh, you need to invite Heather because it'll be so much fun and so there was a lot of pressure. Like I always had to show up on.
Right.
I couldn't show up like, and so I realized that I was having this character feed into my every part of my life, where I was completely just not faking it, but I wasn't being authentic about how I was feeling in a moment. And so I looked into what burlesque was, and I came back and as you mentioned, I live in Bath, which is in the southwest. So if you look at a map, there's the south of Wales, and then we're across the little channel, opposite side to London, if you drew a line across. And so the next city over is Bristol, which is very vibrant and very much more kind of mixed of all kinds of things accessible, slightly bigger city. And so I went there because I didn't want to run into people in Bath. I was that like, oh, I don't want anybody to know that I have this, right? Because everybody expects me to be so, confident. And I could be in a room full of people. I could walk in as strangers. I could know everybody by the end of the evening. and yet I always felt quite lonely.
Mm.
But that never showed, and I never allowed that for myself.
Why do you think that was?
Well, so I'm an A-type personality. I'm always really busy. I'm always running around. I'm always, I had a very busy business. I raised children. I managed a rugby team at a local club. I had so many different things I was doing. And what I discovered during COVID is that I was busy and kept being busy. I didn't know how to be quiet. So like Christmas was a terrible time because it would be so long when there would be so much going on. Like I wasn't working and doing all the things because it was a break from everything. And what I realized is that I was avoiding the question of how am I? Like, how are you, Heather?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so I checked out classes, and I found this taster session at a wonderful studio in Bristol. And I went the weekend I got back from Canada. I went all by myself, didn't tell anybody because I was like, oh. And we did body tracing, which is just taking your hand, your arm, and doing this, or your hand and your face and doing this, which we have complete permission to touch our body.
Right.
But I wanted to cry. I was like, no, this is not, I'm not okay with this, because this is a lot of space and this is very, public. And I just didn't feel comfortable, even though nobody's watching, they're all doing the same thing.
Right.
And so I joined and I went to class and I hated it because it was just so emotional. And I remember we had these scarves, big pieces of fabric, and we just had to wave them and take up space. And I would encourage you to do that, like get us any kind of fabric or a blanket or a towel, anything, put on some music and just move. But I was holding it like scrunched and I was doing this. I just couldn't, I didn't want to take up space, still. And I was so unhappy with it. I knew I had to go back because I thought this isn't rational.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I went back, and every week I went back, everybody said, I can't believe you came back. Like, you're just so uncomfortable at this. You just don't seem to want to be here. And I'm saying, well, that's the point though. I do want to be here. I just don't know how to be here.
Right.
And then over time, I learned to take up space, and I learned where I enjoy being, and I learned how I enjoy moving, and I learned how to express myself in ways that I didn't feel I had permission. So I'm quite filthy when I dance. I'm trying not to swear, but I am filthy as F. I'm just like,
you can swear. I'm from Boston. We breathe that word. I
am filthy as fuck. I love being on the floor. I love being vulgar. I love pulling my leg up. I love doing things that for me feel fierce and strong and everything that I've been told in my programming that I'm not supposed to do because it's not ladylike, or it's not proper, or it's it's not for that kind of person, and all this. And I just let it all out. And then and then that's how I got into doing pole and stuff, because I just did exotic, just kind of staying on the floor and moving around it and stroking it and playing. And it's a chrome pole, so there's nothing bad about doing it. And I felt a lot of shame, and so I worked through a lot of that kind of permission to feel good in my own body and move how I want. And that's where I started recognizing that a lot of people couldn't do it. Even the ones who came regularly to the studio, they just couldn't work through that process. And they wanted to. It wasn't, it's one thing if you don't want to, but they wanted to.
They were there for that. Yeah.
And they just couldn't find that. And so I started, kind of coaching them and taking them with me. And I'm terrible with choreography that somebody else gives me. I have no memory for it at all. So I'm always freestyling. And I used to joke about everybody wanted me in the class because it would be fun, because I would be the worst person in the class. I didn't care. And it was letting go of that. I don't care if I'm doing the moves. I'm still moving, I have no rhythm. I don't remember the steps. It doesn't matter.
Also gives other people permission, you know what I mean? That gives people permission to see someone, if you're out there and just enjoying the hell out of yourself, not caring what you look like or what other people think. That gives other people permission to be comfortable and to do what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm by far the oldest person there. I think there's about 3 or 4 that are 10 years younger than me. Most of the people are, young enough to be my daughters, and they already weren't giving themselves permission. I was like, no, fuck that. I can't, like, I know you want to, and I'm here to help you have that permission. And if you need my permission, I don't care whose permission you need. You need to find that so that you can give yourself permission.
Right.
And that's why during the pandemic, when I had all of these, interpersonal skills, because that's my whole thing, is communication and connection and self-awareness and connecting with others to be heard. And I thought, well, actually, that's not different to what I would do on stage, about, owning our space, about raising our voice, because we're told, like, you can be loud, but not too loud. And
right.
you can talk about things, but not too much. And you're a mom, so you're supposed to be a certain way, or you're a certain age, so you're supposed to be a certain way. And I just decided, all that's gone now. Enough.
All those expectations that other people put on you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually what my cabaret numbers were yesterday, was, kind of how we get through this whole kind of sweetness, what gets us through that day of what we're supposed to be versus who we actually are, and how we, and I did that with a full strip.
That's awesome. So your performances have that sort of theme, rather than just being sort of, I mean, I know it's freestyle, but also there's something more behind it than just dancing and possessing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I seem right now anyway, I have that theme to it. I used to have a quite an angry theme to it, and I changed my stage name and redid my persona, because it was a really angry, angsty, and it was a lot of therapy that I was working through. My husband passed away in 2019.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And then I was in a quite a serious car accident, so I had neck and spine injury in 2019. I had to move house because my husband had made a huge mess and left me with a lot of debt, so I had to move. I had all this stuff going on, and I was just carrying it out in my dancing. And that was my way of being able to cope with, still being able to go to work and all of those things. And I just got back to work, and then COVID. So,
wow.
I've had an extra year on top of everybody's COVID. And it was terrible, because as an extrovert, when you feed off of energy from other people,
yeah,
and then you're locked away on your own, it's hard. And there were a lot of people who said, oh, thank goodness, I'm an introvert, I just want to be left alone, this is a great opportunity, I never want to go back to the office. And I was the opposite. I still can't wait to get back,
right,
to be in those environments. But I think we need at some point to go through our shadow self, and we need to do that work. And we need to, and I had to really get in touch with my introversion, which I didn't even believe I had. And I, because I don't have an unexpressed thought. Everything's in my head, it comes out somewhere.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. And so trying to
no hiding it.
have unexpressed thoughts where it's just me, I mean, I can talk to myself, but it's the whole thing. How did you make it through lockdown as an extrovert?
Oh God, yeah, I did a lot of self-exploration, actually. And I had several conversations, more than several, many conversations with myself. And then Zoom happened, and that's like, thank God for Zoom. Thank God for Zoom.
Yeah.
But listen, this has been so much fun. I could talk to you for like another 2 hours, but let's tell people how they can get in touch with you first. And then also, we need to do this again, and you need to show us a little bit more about burlesque and sort of teach a little bit. What do you think?
I would love that. That would be so fun. That would be really fun. Yeah, we could do maybe a glove peel, or, I mean, who doesn't love something? Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be very fun. Okay, so I my business, and I'm on LinkedIn as this business, is attitudes training, and that's my attitudes training and coaching, kind of my business side of things, and those are my business clients. So if you were on LinkedIn, that's where you'd find me. But everything else is Confidential Cabaret Online. So I have a YouTube channel, I have a weekly podcast, we have a very active community where it's very honest, and it's not, one of those ones where everybody's advertising and whatever. It's kind of everybody is coming forward and working through their stuff and sharing what they do and encouraging each other, which I love that kind of environment. So everything is Confidence Through Cabaret. Facebook is the community. The only thing that isn't Confidence Through Cabaret is Twitter is at YBYWYS.
YBYWYS. Okay.
Yes, and Twitter, I'm at Heather YBYWYS, and that is our kind of our motto or our tagline, which stands for it's your body, it's your world, and it's your stage.
Oh, that's beautiful. We'll have to put all this information in the comment section below.
Yeah, for sure.
People can definitely find you. And this has just been so fun. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And as you say, we'll do this again.
Yes, definitely.
And we'll do this in Confidence Through Cabaret community as well, because I love collaborating. I love everybody knowing what's going on. You know, I might not be the right coach for you. You know, you might need. I'm not there to sort of say, oh, buy my services. I'm there to say, like, find a coach. You know, find what you need, do your thing, and
yes, absolutely.
So
yeah, I love. Let's just provide as many solutions for people as possible.
Yeah,
so they can find the right one.
Absolutely. And it changes. It totally changes, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You work through things, you have other things.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly. Thank you
so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye.